The first round of hostages were released as the Gaza ceasefire came into effect. The deal between Israel and Hamas halts 15 months of fighting that has claimed tens of thousands of lives. It comes after months of negotiations, with both President Biden and President-elect Donald Trump claiming they were responsible for securing the agreement.
If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
Who takes credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke?
So who was behind the deal, and what does the ceasefire mean for Gaza? Negotiations to end the 15-month-long conflict had stalled for months.
It's been a grueling process. What we've seen is that both sides had demands. They didn't want to give up on the idea of like a permanent ceasefire. So Israel wanted to go back to the fighting, but get back all the hostages. And Hamas wanted to ensure an end to the war before it gave back the hostages.
The deal is the product of months of on and off talks. Biden's aides say it was based on a framework he outlined in May last year.
This plan was developed and negotiated by my team, and will be largely implemented by the incoming administration.
While Trump posted on Truth Social that his election victory was why a deal got done, his return to the White House also appears to have increased the pressure.
Trump and Biden surprisingly kind of worked together to get this done. So while Biden's team was leading the negotiations for most of the war, towards the end, people like real estate mogul turned Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff took a key position. Trump said that he wants this deal done by when he takes office. And this added a lot of urgency and energy to the negotiations. Biden has a serious claim to getting this deal through. He has stuck by this since the start. So since October 7th, he has made it a major goal of the U.S. and spent a lot of, time both visiting Israel, he and his team. They've kind of been pushing both sides, along with the Qataris and Egyptians, who are other mediators in the talks, to get this done. So I think Biden did a lot of the work, but the final push needed to get it through the finish line, that was Trump.
The release of the hostages, in exchange for Palestinian prisoners, is part of the first stage of the deal, which will also see increased humanitarian aid enter the Gaza Strip.
Phase 1 of the deal includes the release of hostages defined as humanitarian, so women, children, elderly, and dead bodies. The second phase is more tricky and involves reaching a lasting ceasefire, permanent peace, and it also includes the release of the remaining living hostages. In the third phase, we're supposed to receive the remaining dead hostages, and it's supposed to focus on the reconstruction of Gaza.
Around 250 people were taken hostage during Hamas's cross-border attack on Israel in October 2023. Some of those were rescued by Israeli forces, and 50 were released under a temporary ceasefire in November 2023.
Ultimately, you are supposed to see the release of all the hostages throughout all the phases. However, there is concern among experts in Israel that say we may never get everyone back because there might not be knowledge about where everyone is buried, perhaps with dead bodies. Hostages were taken for a reason, and they were taken basically as trading cards.
With the deal designed to be implemented in stages, broader talks on ending the conflict are yet to come. And analysts believe that those latter talks will likely be contentious.
So the deal is built as a pathway to lasting peace, but it has to go through several kind of roadblocks and phases before it reaches that. Reaching the first stage is an achievement on its own and seemed impossible for many, many months. But reaching that second stage is not a given. A lot could go wrong. There's a lot of points at this deal. We're going to be tested. Both sides are going to be tested to see if they will act on what they committed to. We could also see a return to the fighting if things go wrong.